So there's a brand of influencers out there who believe that they are secret aliens, and one of the beliefs that I really sort of hinged on is this idea that vibrations, good vibrations, can do all sorts of things. It can make your sex life good, it can give you money, it can manifest all the things that you desire. One of the things that they said was that these vibrations can heal you. And I thought, you know, little bit quite out there, but then I realised actually one of the things that I believe, that a cat's purr can actually heal you, and it made me question, is there actually something in this? Can vibrations actually heal you?
432 Hz does this. It actually basically
happiness, anger, shame, and if you have certain frequencies.
So before we get into this, energy and vibrations, we're talking about waves and we're talking about sounds. If you don't want an overview of what sounds actually are, feel free to skip ahead to this timestamp down by here. So let's break down first the sort of basics of sound. What is sound? How is sound made? Sound is caused by vibrations, and those vibrations cause fluctuations in air pressure. Our ears detect that, send signals to the brain, we interpret that as sound. So our ears can detect from 20 vibrations a second to 20,000 vibrations per second. This is a description of something called frequency, which has got units of hertz, so we hear from 20 to 20,000 hertz. There are some vibrations that we don't hear as well. We call this ultrasound and infrasound. So an example of ultrasound would be something above the frequency that we can hear. Bats, for example, and dogs can hear higher than 20,000 hertz. Bats can hear up to 200,000 hertz, 10 times above the frequency that we can hear. Whereas elephants can detect infrasound, so they can detect frequencies of about 14 hertz. Now we can also increase the amplitude of the wave. This is how much the vibration happens, not how frequently, but how big the wave actually is. We call this the amplitude or the volume of the wave. A wave doesn't necessarily have to travel as a sound wave, it travels as light, it travels as literal mechanical waves like the sea. So let's break down whether or not these vibrations can actually heal you. And I wanted to start off with something that I've actually believed myself, which is that a cat's purr can heal the human body. Is there any truth to that? So if you've ever owned a cat, you've undoubtedly experienced the sheer joy of having a little tiny kitty cat on your lap, on your chest, and it's sitting there all happy and content and just purring away happily. And it's just something so joyful and relaxing. And it does feel like there's something sort of healing about that. How does the cat make that noise? How does it cause the vibration? It does it very similar to the way that we speak. It uses its larynx, its voice box. Now there's anecdotal evidence that cats often purr when they're sick. Does a cat only purr when it's happy? The answer is no. To quote Gary Weitzman, a veterinarian and a CEO of the San Diego Humane Society, he says, while the purr does generally represent contentment for cats, it can also express nervousness, fear and stress. Fortunately, more often than not, it's an indicator of the former. Which is like, oh. So cats usually purr when they're happy, but they don't exclusively purr when they are happy. Now, the popular theory is that a cat's purr offers healing benefits to the cat itself, and there's actually something to this. So there was a study that was done on rabbits, and if you don't like hearing about rabbits with osteoporosis, feel free to skip ahead, but the study involved essentially giving a load of rabbits bone diseases, and what they did was they split those rabbits into 5 different groups. Now 4 of those groups were exposed to relatively low frequencies. They gave one group no vibrations. They exposed these rabbits to these frequencies for 30 minutes every single day for 4 weeks. So that's 7 days of treatment every week, 30 minutes, exposing the whole body to these frequencies. And what they found was quite interesting. They found that the rabbit actually saw a marked improvement of the repair of their bones. So that's some pretty good evidence that frequencies of 25 to 50 hertz can heal bones. So what frequency does a cat purr? It purrs at frequencies of 25 hertz to 150 hertz. So there's some compelling evidence to say that a cat's purr does actually heal its own body. But does it actually benefit humans? Well, I couldn't find any compelling evidence to say that the purr itself does benefit the humans. However, there is some strong evidence to suggest that having a cat sitting down on you content, stroking it, and chances are it will purr if it's doing that, there is some evidence that the process of doing that itself actually benefits humans. So they found that people who had cats actually had a much lower chance of having heart disease. They also found evidence that the purr itself actually causes the human body to release pleasure chemicals like oxytocin, and it also strengthens the bond between the cat and the human. Not only that, there's evidence to suggest that it causes lower anxiety, it relieves stress, and also lowers your blood pressure. Now, these studies don't suggest that the cat's purr is what's giving all of these benefits. It's more likely that the stress-relieving nature of just having a cat that you like is what gives you all of these health benefits. So in my research, I didn't find anything conclusive to say that the cat itself purring offers healing benefits, but there is something in the fact that the purr itself benefits the cat. But the process of having the cat on you, sat there, purring away, does actually cause some chemical hormonal response in the humans themselves. So there is something to it. So does a cat's purr benefit the human? In one way, yes. In another way, it's not really conclusive. But if exposing low frequency vibrations to the rabbits benefit the rabbits, perhaps then there's something in the claim that vibrations themselves benefit humans. Let's dig deeper. Let's have a look at that. So what sort of treatments can you get with vibrations? There's two types. There's whole body vibrations. Now this is something that's done with a vibrating plate, something that if you go to the gym you might have seen before, or if you've watched people go to the gym on TV, you might have seen before. And the idea is that energy goes into your body because waves transfer energy and it causes contractions in the muscles. And there's also more localized vibrational treatments. So think about your sort of massage gun where you can sort of put it into a muscle, cause some sort of vibrations, and it does the same thing. It vibrates at quite a big amplitude, causing vibrations in the muscles, and the idea there again is the same. So what sort of effect might be caused? So the evidence that I found was in a treatment of older people with a disease called sarcopenia. I don't know if I'm saying that right, which is essentially age-related muscle loss. Now they found that both of these treatments, the whole body vibrations and the local vibrations, actually had a significant benefit. But what was the benefit? The benefit was that the muscles got stronger. It also improved essentially functionality for these people, so the ability to sit up and stand down, something that we might take for granted. However, if you're aging and you're losing muscle strength, the act of just standing up might be something that's quite difficult. So it improved these people's functionality, their ability to just live their lives. So your vibrations cause contractions of the muscles, which crank up the production of motor neurons, and it essentially tricks your body into firing more muscle fibers than it usually would do. Now, some studies also suggest that these contractions also increase your blood flow, helping recovery, so causing more oxygen and nutrients to be brought to the muscles via the blood, which is why you might see people going on these plates after doing exercise. But here's the thing, the science isn't perfect. Most of these studies that were done are relatively small, and they don't all use the same vibrational frequency, so there's no conclusive evidence that a certain frequency benefits one person or another. So a relatively recent clinical review of the benefits of using vibration as a form of recovery and a form of healing, called the overall evidence either low or medium. It was essentially a scientific peer-reviewed paper, and it essentially called the evidence that existed for vibrational frequencies healing you mid. But there is undoubted evidence, another study that was done on humans showed that low frequencies actually do benefit bone growth, so specifically women who are postmenopausal. So if you want to use vibrational plates to get swole, don't ditch the barbells. Chances are it's going to be a sort of bonus tool to help recovery. But the most evidence there is for vibrations actually healing you are very, very specific. So specifically benefiting people in sort of physical rehab, in recovery, and also people who are in the process of aging. Now there's something that I've not mentioned, which is possibly the negative impact of vibrations. So think about people who use machinery that cause vibrations in the whole body. So people like construction workers, people like farmers. There's evidence to suggest that people who use stuff like this, so farmers going around on their tractors that bounce around, construction worker using a power drill, that sort of, or jackhammer, that goes up and down like this. So there's evidence to suggest that these people suffer from a lot of problems, specifically back pain. So all things considered, the evidence, does vibrations actually heal you? So the answer is yes in a way, but it's very, very specific problems that it helps. If you've watched this far and you're enjoying this video and you're interested in more deep dives like this with me, consider subscribing. Every single one really helps out. Drop us a like if you're liking this video. Give us a comment if you've got something to say. For a small channel like mine, every single bit of engagement really does help. So I feel like I've done a big deep dive into vibrations and their healing benefits. I've spent days researching this. I feel like I'm now armed to look at what these influencers are saying specifically about vibrations and their healing benefits, to see if there's any truth to it. Let's have a look at what sort of claims are being made about vibrational frequencies and how they benefit us.
Healing therapy is rooted in the principle that everything in the universe, including our bodies, is in a constant state of vibration.
That listening to 432 Hz music, it also stimulates positive thinking and well-being, and heal the root chakra. This is the chakra that's responsible for our feelings of safety and security.
Tuning fork therapy is a very gentle, yet powerful modality to treat the body and mind and restore inner balance and health. It works with the nervous system, the tissues, and the more subtle energies of the body.
Your vibration in seconds. Most people will say go to nature, eat raw foods, and other ways of raising your vibration. Observe your internal reality.
Okay. To be honest with you, there's so much stuff out there that I feel like if I wanted to go on for hours, I probably could. I feel like I'm not at a stage where I've got it in me to do a 2-hour video. Let's just look into some of these claims that are being made.
Healing. It is a type of energy medicine that creates a resonance within our cells to help raise our vibrational frequency and stimulate healing.
Resonance. It's a real physical thing, something that we call resonance frequency. So most objects, when you hit them, will vibrate. They'll shake, essentially. In the same way that if you pluck a guitar string, the guitar string vibrates at a certain frequency, and it will always vibrate at that frequency. That's why it's the note that it is. So if you pluck a guitar string, it's the note of G. It doesn't matter how hard you hit it or how hard you pluck it, it's always going to be a note of G. The only way that you can change the note, if you don't want it to play the note of G, is you change the length of the string, and it will change the frequency at which it vibrates. So what you can do is you can have small forces acting on an object, and if it hits it at the right frequency, it will cause that object to vibrate quite a lot. A really cool example of this, I say cool, nobody died, but there was a concrete bridge that was built, and it had a certain resonance frequency that matched the wind.
Tacoma Bridge, Washington, opened only a few months ago, was built at a cost of over $6 million. But misfortune overtakes the great structure. These are some of the most amazing pictures ever recorded by a newsreel. The actual collapse of the world's third largest suspension bridge.
So what happened is the wind actually started hitting this bridge at its resonance frequency. And the thing is, the sort of force was small, but it was continuous. And that caused massive amplitudes, massive vibrations in the concrete itself. It's moving around as if it's made of liquid. It's crazy. And eventually it causes the bridge to collapse. So resonance frequency is actually something that scientists need to take into account. So I've got a cool experiment with these things called tuning forks. If you hit them, they ring at a certain frequency or a certain note, a certain pitch. Now what I wanted to show you guys, in fact let me just move the camera down a little bit, get the microphone in view. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this note by here. This is the note of C. It vibrates at a frequency of 256 Hertz. And if I get this note by here, it's a higher pitched note. It vibrates more frequently. It vibrates 384 times a second, 384 Hertz. If I hit this, causing it to vibrate, hold it, and take it away. Can't hear anything, right? So nothing happened. But watch what happens if I get the same note. Okay, so both of these are the note of C. Both of these vibrate 256 times a second. It might be small. You should have been able to hear it hum. And that's because both of these were vibrating at the same frequency. This tuning fork was vibrating this tuning fork at its resonance frequency. It's the same effect of running your finger on a wine glass and hearing it hum. You're causing the wine glass to vibrate at its resonance frequency. So one of the things that they claim is that your body is made of energy. And they love to sort of link this with Einstein because it gives them a sense of authority. It's called an argument from authority. So if your idea is backed by Einstein, surely that means it's probably true. He's like the smartest guy out there, right? But what actually are they saying? They're saying that the body itself is made of energy.
When I thought of Einstein when he said everything is energy. I mean, when you go to if you go to the doctor, you know, we use a blood pressure cuff to measure your blood pressure. Electroencephalogram is measuring your brain waves. We are energetic beings.
And it's like, yeah, it is, in the sense that Einstein said that matter's made of energy. We're made of matter, so we're made of energy. But what they're saying is that the body is energy. And that's not 100% true. We're made of atoms and stuff. Sure, those atoms are made of quarks, and those quarks are made of energy, and you can just make quarks with energy. But our bodies aren't literally pure things of energy. We're made of matter. But what they say is that this energy has got a certain frequency at which it vibrates. And the frequency at which our energy vibrates is linked to your emotions. So your energy will vibrate at a low frequency if you're experiencing sort of negative emotions, whereas if you're experiencing higher frequencies, that's more positive. Your highest frequencies goes to love and then enlightenment. What they claim is this idea of resonance. Again, giving the idea, they're using this sort of scientific term, the idea of resonance frequency. The idea is that if you expose yourself to certain frequencies, will link it to the frequency of that emotion. So there's, for me, some sort of irony here in that the evidence suggests that the lowest frequencies offer benefits to humans. So frequencies of about 25 to 50 hertz benefit humans the most. But these people are saying that these low frequencies are bad, that surely they'd cause a resonance of sort of negative emotions. So my question would be, are these people who are experiencing, you know, more bone growth, are they also feeling more apathetic? Are they feeling more angry? Are they feeling a mixture of guilt and shame? There's no mention of this in the studies. So one thing that I think is an interesting idea is, what is the resonance frequency of the human body? The thing is, the resonance frequency of an object is determined by its shape and what it's made of. And the thing is, we've all got different shapes and we're all made of different stuff. The frequency can be as low as 2 to 5 hertz. Another study found the frequency was roughly 13, so quite low. But they're not claiming that the frequencies they're exposing themselves are vibrating the body. They're saying that it's vibrating your energy. So is there any evidence that your body's got energy? The answer is not really. The claim that the human body is made of literal energy, or that human emotions are connected to energy in a certain frequency, to be honest, are just completely baseless. Some guy just made it up. Now, first of all, the sort of like energy frequencies, your sort of energy field, they call it, your aura. So this idea has sort of been thoroughly debunked by the likes of James Randi. There's people who claim to be able to see the aura, and in no sort of tangible way can they prove this. In fact, when they try and prove that they can see energy fields, they end up doing the opposite, showing that they can't really do it.
What we're concerned with tonight is whether or not it's possible for James to perceive an aura through obstacles. And to determine that, we've agreed upon the following experiment. 5 volunteers behind the screen. Can you see all the auras through this screen here?
Yes.
Will John step around from behind the screen? James, can you still see his aura around his body?
Yes.
And which position did John come from, do you believe?
C.
Please reveal which position you were originally standing in by showing us, I think it's inside your hat, isn't it? Take them off and let's see. C, B, D, A, and E. So out of this, we obtained 2 correct. All right. So, James, you got 2 out of 5 correct, and I take my hat off to you for trying.
And the trouble is we already know what causes emotions. We've sort of mapped it out. We know that it's a mixture of neurochemical responses, none of which are sort of quantifiable as a sort of frequency in any sort of physical sense. So quantum mechanics doesn't offer any basis of the idea that emotions are tied to certain frequencies. And anyone who's sort of saying that is just lying to you. It's a classic example of something called quantum mysticism. So people out there take mystical ideas, and what they do is they take ideas that have been around for a while, but in the sort of religious sense, and they sprinkle a lot of quantum mechanic words into what they believe. They give it a veneer of legitimacy, scientific legitimacy. It's what we call pseudoscience. Things wanting to appear scientific, but in no way actually are. So in short, there's no empirical evidence that certain emotions like love, hatred, sadness, guilt are linked to any sort of frequencies in any measurable way. Neurotransmitters release neurochemicals like serotonin, dopamine and cortisol, and we know that these are the pleasure chemicals that your brain releases, and these hormones interact with the nervous system. All of these offer a tangible way to explain emotions. Nowhere in peer-reviewed science is there any claim that frequencies and vibrational frequencies are any way linked to emotions. So what about these people's claim that vibrations can heal the body? We've already seen that there might be something in this. So what are these people doing? They're not exposing themselves to vibrations of a sufficient amplitude. What I mean by this is that their body's not getting vibrated enough. So a lot of the sort of therapies that these people use, they listen to music at a certain frequency, they have tuning forks, they listen to Tibetan bowls that vibrate at that frequency. None of these vibrations, the sound that's being generated, is going to be in any sort of significant way going to be absorbed by the body. And in a way, I suppose they're not really claiming that. However, there was sort of one treatment that I thought was interesting, and it uses these things, the tools that we used before the tuning forks. So doctors have used these things to test hearing loss, to even detect fractures in the bones for over a century. So what do proponents of vibrational healing use these things for? They claim they can do a lot more. They claim they can heal your tissue, they claim that they can balance your energy field, they say that they can tune your emotions. Like we said, that idea of resonance, which all sounds nice, but again, it's pseudoscience. It's adding scientific terms in order to give it a veneer of credibility. There's no evidence that tuning forks like this can offer any benefits to muscle tissues or your organs or heal your scarring. Chances are any healing effect that they feel is a placebo effect, which is not to say that they're idiots. You're not an idiot if you experience the placebo effect. It's a real physiological response. All I'm saying is that any sort of sense of emotional tuning that they feel, chances are is just coming from the relaxing noise of the tuning fork itself, or the suggestion of the person applying the therapy. If you've got a therapist saying this tuning fork is going to make you feel more relaxed, happy, enlightened, chances are if you've spent a good amount of money and you've got someone with a position of authority over you telling you will feel this way, you will feel that sensation, you will feel that way. And I'll be honest with you, while doing research for this video, I've been non-stop, bam, listening to these things because they're lovely. They make a lovely, pleasant sounding hum. I'm sure these tuning forks can offer a benefit to if you're meditating, if you're being mindful. But when it comes to therapy, any sort of benefit that these things offer, the power comes from your perception of these things. It's not benefiting yourselves. And it sort of takes me to the sort of final point of this. Do vibrations like this, does listening to a frequency of 256 hertz make you feel more grounded or whatever? In a physical sense, no. It's more psychological. And it sort of brings me to my sort of final point. These things shouldn't replace good science. And that's really the danger of these things. So if someone's going for this for treatment to make them feel lighter, to make them feel happier, etc., is there any harm in this? Not really. But if this is replacing treatment, I look at this picture of the young boy here and the little girl here, and it's talking about allergies. The website itself claims that these don't cure allergies, which is, yeah, good job. But it says that it offers real significant benefits to symptoms, which is just not true. If you're using things like this as a substitute for treatment, that's the real danger. Any treatment, any medicine, any sort of physical therapy that you receive is always backed by good science. Science isn't just using the word quantum, isn't just using the word resonance. Science is a process. It's provable, it's tangible, it's got measurable effects. This isn't science. It's not being researched, it's not being peer reviewed. It's some person just writing a book, just claiming that these things can happen. So we've seen in this video that some vibrations actually do have physical benefits, which answers the question, can vibrations heal you? Absolutely yes. However, can vibrations through sound actually heal you? The long and short of it is no. There is no physical benefit to vibrational healing through sound. However, there may be psychological benefits. So it's post-editing Seb here, and I thought it would be best for me to give my final thoughts after recording all of the footage that I got. And my biggest issue, I mean, we pointed out how something like vibrational therapy and vibrational healing should not be a substitute of real, actual scientific medicine and treatment. That's where the danger lies. However, one of the reasons why I started this channel is because I love science, and it's important that people understand the idea that science is a process, not just using fancy scientific words. It's researched, it's critiqued, and in fact, even the research that exists, sometimes there's flaws in it, and that's part of the process. It's finding those flaws and digging deeper. Science is not just writing a book. This is where a lot of the vibrational healing comes from, and that's why we call it pseudoscience. It's pseudo in the sense that it's pretending to be science, and there's usually a pattern with pseudoscience. They usually introduce something that's a demonstrable fact. So for example, the resonance frequency, you can demonstrate that. There are shorts where people demonstrate resonance frequency, and they say, look, here's a real thing. However, what they do is almost a bait and switch. They give you something real and they switch it out real quick with something that they've almost just made up, or something that they've just read in some guy's book or some gal's book. And that's the real problem for me. It's not the fact that they're believing in something that's harmless. It's the deception. But more than that, it's the fact that people can very easily fall for it. And that's why I started the video talking about the cat's purr. The cat's purr healing you was packaged to me in a very sort of, that makes sense sort of way. But the evidence that I found wasn't fully backed. And what's important is that you've got the capability of changing your mind, and it's important that we all have that skill. So whether or not you're watching this video having believed in vibrational healing, or having been a skeptic in the first place, or having no opinion at all, what's important to me is the idea that all of us have got the capability of being able to in-depth look at information and be able to critique it in a very scientific way. Whenever I looked up an article, all I did was literally go on Google Scholar and look up articles. And I might have missed stuff out. Comment below if you've got any critiques of anything that I've said or done or quoted. If I've misinterpreted anything, which is I'm more than able to do. Feel free to comment it down below. Or if you just enjoyed the video, gas me up. I love it. I need it, please. And that's why I've started the channel, in order to promote good science. So if you want to follow me along my journey of delving into certain topics with the lens of good science, hit that subscription button, whatever I say to hit the subscription button. Bash. Thanks for watching.